Welcome to Too Many Games, where the more you play, the more you win. We're doing episode 1 right now, and I'm Chuck. Got my co-host here with Travis. Let's talk games, I guess.
Hello.
I don't know.
Me, Travis. So to get started with games, I'm kind of curious about what you are going to talk about as far as this.
I mean, it's the first episode, let's general discussion topic. Let's talk about video game movies. Sonic 2's coming out this weekend, you know.
So does that mean we get to talk about how we felt about the first Sonic movie? Because
I mean, you can if that's what you want to talk about.
I don't think I ever want to talk about it again.
You hated it?
No, I didn't so much hate it or anything. It was just, there's like different categories of video game movies, and there's some that is like the interpretation of the director who's trying to do something different, kind of like comic book movies as well, right? So you have the interpretation of this director who's trying to do something like unique and not just copy a game or a movie or whatever media, because why are you why not just go play the game then? Some shit like that. But I felt like that was definitely one of those. What I'm trying to say is there's like some fan service games, and then there's some like Hollywood movies, some fan service movies and some like Hollywood blockbuster movies. And a lot of the times those Hollywood blockbuster movies really kill it for me. And I'm not like a huge Sonic fan to begin with. And actually, I think I really like Jim Carrey's performance, but the negative attention for the original Sonic model was so weird.
I will say that internet trolling at its best fixed Sonic in that movie.
The bullying of the fucking CGI team, of the effects team.
Because, sometimes Hollywood needs to know that some 80-year-old guy who only knows of Sonic because his kids talk about it or some shit, he needs to know that he doesn't get creative control of a character.
What I want to know about is what kids are talking about Sonic. It's all like...
Well, I mean, okay, the most recent Sonic game at that time was Sonic Mania, which was kind of a resurgent of the old school style Sonic. But even before that, you had like Sonic Boom, which was a failed game because they didn't take their time in programming it. But that also became a cartoon series.
Yeah, that alone is probably one of the best Sonic names you could have ever hoped for. And they really bombed it, apparently.
Yeah. My view of the movie is what wasn't a natural Sonic part of the storyline was basically like one of those early 2000 adaptation movies where it's like it just has to be a road movie, buddy comedy for some reason.
Yeah.
Even though it was like Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik before all of the like character changes to him, he still was kind of fun to watch. And that mixed with the Sonic character being written like Sonic, it just kind of worked. It didn't, by no means am I saying, hey, this is the go-to adaptation for video games or anything.
It's no Super Mario Brothers.
Fucking give me John Leguizamo any day. All right.
And the pest, man. Give me the pest. I don't even want John Leguizamo. I want the character, the pest, playing Luigi.
We may not have the other guy anymore, but we could bring back John Leguizamo for Super Mario Bros. 2.
Hell yeah.
This time Luigi gets revenge.
The ghost of Bob Hopkins shows up.
Sorry, Luigi, your Mario's in another castle. As far as like terrible adaptions, this one was at least fun to watch, and that's why I'm kind of excited for number 2, is because they're getting even more into the game and stuff. And it's like, see, if you just make a fun adaptation without going full whole hog into the game, you can at least like do the sequel, go more into the game. But
yeah, well, I remember the like cartoon show or whatever that had like all the different characters and shit. Like, I get that's why a lot of people like Sonic and stuff, but like there's plenty of room for that in the second one. And I don't know, that actually sounds kind of weird. I take it back. I don't like it at all. I don't even remember them.
The problem now comes that I saw an article where now that Sonic 2 is almost out, they're also planning like a Knuckles solo film and a Sonic 3 and like maybe a Dr. Robotnik thing. But then Jim Carrey's like, no, I'm going to retire filming. And it's like, you're literally just started a franchise as the main villain. You can't just retire now.
Hell yeah, you can. Hell yeah.
It's like, great. Now we're going to be stuck with like Dr. Robotnik Jr. because Jim Carrey doesn't want to play the character anymore.
The ghost of Bob Hopkins will play. Don't worry. I could see some, I could see some talent for that role, but there's so many actors in Hollywood. Like, I'm not a casting director or whatever. So I watched a review on the fucking newest Resident Evil movie, right? And it made a lot of sense.
God.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense about it because there was like a insider view with the director, and a lot of the times the director was just like, you can't be an actor being this character. You have to be a whole new character that's this character. And it's like just him trying to describe it to the interviewee or the interviewer was so bizarre. And it's like, no wonder the movie sucked. No one had any idea what they were doing. Right. Or like he actively described Leon like as a like dark brooding anti-hero and stuff. And he's like a bumbling fool the whole movie.
Yeah. It's like, as far as like Resident Evil goes, it's like, we're not expecting you to do point by point of the first game. We're not telling you to do point by point of the second game. But don't take one of the best characters of the second game and make him a fucking Jerry Lewis. Like, fucking Opie. Like, love it. He's a trained cop and he doesn't know how to use a shotgun.
He doesn't know how to do anything, dude. He's just like always confused and weird. And then
like, what? And it's just like these random scenes of there's obviously some kind of zombie bullshit going on, and the two characters will walk into a room and one will be like, all right, well, you go check that door out. I'm going to go look in this corner or this other room. And then that character like looks in that other room and it's like big plot development that is relevant to the person who left the room and won't be back for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
That's going to be one that I miss. I'm going to miss that one.
Yeah. Like I have the Wikipedia. It bombed in the box office and became massively successful due to rentals on Vudu.
Wow.
Like it grossed 41 million against a 25 million budget.
Holy shit.
God, is it terrible. I could fucking do an entire episode on how terrible that fucking shit is. Because it's not even terrible in the sense of a game adaptation. It's terrible in the sense of it's a bad movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can get that.
There's things like Claire breaking into her brother's home in Raccoon City, and she'll like go to the back door and she pulls out her boot knife and like jams it in the lock, and that breaks the lock open so that she can walk in. And then she's just browsing through his stuff and he comes downstairs ready to go to work. And he's like, how'd you get in? She's like, I lockpick your door. And it's like, he jammed a knife in it. And then he's like, you lockpick that? That's like a double molten lock barrier.
A triple platinum lock.
Yeah. It's like,
it's a master lock, man.
If it's that big of a lock and she just jammed a knife in it, like, what the fuck, dude? But then they keep referencing it the rest of the movie. Like, oh, well, Claire's a lockpicker. And it's like, she jammed a knife in the lock, you fucking
The whole movie. Oh, watch out. Nobody lock anything around her. Open it in 2 seconds. The most video game part about that is she just has a magical unlocking boot knife because the animation's shitty, and she could just like, it's just poor animation, and it's just like jamming something in there. It's like, oh, you unlocked it, good job.
But it's like one of those scenes where it's like, okay, fine, whatever, we could get past it as long as you don't reference it for the next 2 fucking hours.
Guess what? Guess who's picking all the locks?
You needed a way to get Claire into this locked house. Fine, I get it. Flub a reality, to get her inside. But don't keep acknowledging it.
Just trying to get away with their sin, trying to absolve themselves.
Yeah. It's like you're not being funny by constantly referencing the fact that you fucked up.
Not only that, there's that point whenever the exact same scene where he instantly recognizes her when she's wearing his fucking football helmet from the back. From the back, he's like, "Oh, that must be my sister. I haven't seen in 20 fucking years or whatever."
Right? And he's a cop in a city that's going through an economic crisis, and he leaves his very expensive motorbike in his open garage with the keys in the ignition.
Video game movie, dude. Video game movie. No, see, that's the issue that like that prime example of making is like, do you make a fan service game? Do you put all these little winks and nods and Easter eggs so that people find them, or do you just make a good ass movie based on like content?
So I'm I listened to the audiobooks of Harry Potter while I'm working, and I've rewatched the movies. You know what really made those stick out and work as good adaptations? The fact that
Hermione,
as much as they cut content from the books and they change things here and there are still those scenes where they have like verbatim from the book. You know, it's like the setting is exactly how the book sets it up. You know, the wording is exactly like it. You know, so it's like this kind of links me back to this book I love, and then they kind of change some other things, and it's like you can do an adaptation and change things so that it's not similar to the thing you're adapting, but at least have some percentage of what you're adapting in it. You can't do a Resident Evil movie and be like, we're keeping all of the character names, but we're changing their entire persona. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, no, there's a reason why fans love these characters. You know?
Right. No, I totally get that. And I think they should definitely, I mean, admittedly, like, yeah, that movie's not great. There's all those reasons why. And, you know, it's another one of those things we could just sit here the entire time and just make this a better movie. But we're also like, we have hindsight. We saw how bad it was. Like,
yeah.
In my head, like that poor bastard, all those, it always makes me, bad movies always make me feel so bad for the people that worked on them, right? Like, what if your whole career was just like 5 shitty movies nobody liked?
We could even talk about, because, you know, this Resident Evil is like the reboot of the Resident Evil franchise because of the other like 8 terrible movies. But if we're just taking like that, the first Resident Evil movie that had come out, that vastly changed everything from the first game. Like, it was
like, it wasn't even close.
Basically just zombies is the same thing. It
was big budget action zombies. Yeah.
But it was, compared to this, that one was a more entertaining movie because they made it a good movie. They made it a good zombie movie, and then they sprinkled in whatever they wanted to of Resident Evil on top of it. So you can't really say it's a good Resident Evil adaptation, but you can say it's a good zombie movie.
Right. And that's the shitty part about that new Resident Evil, is that it's not a very good Resident Evil movie, and it's not a very good movie.
Yeah.
You know, it just stinks across the board. But again, I don't know. Some people, I think, are really like tolerant of different forms of media. Like, some things can be purposely dumb or bad and still be good. Like the Dungeons and Dragons movie, right? Horrible movie. I couldn't think of besides that fucking,
dude, Jeremy Irons is the only reason to watch that movie.
God damn.
He just loves being a villain.
What about, man, I'm going off. I lost my train of thought because I started thinking about that fucking Land of Lost College Prophets movie. Do you remember that?
Nah.
Oh, thank God. I got it from the fucking movie gallery, and it's way off tangent, so I'll stop. But it was just like, it has the most ridiculous things in the world. Like, the main villain was the well that eats children, and it just makes this, like, the one Swedish guy or German guy in town or whatever, his like skin turns red and he starts killing people. And he beats up the main character, who's just like a fat bald guy in college who's like 33 or something. And he like kills him or whatever. He's going to die. He's in the woods. And right before he passes out, he takes a big fucking rock and he throws it up in the air. And then he falls down on the ground. Well, he threw the rock up in the air so that it would land on his chest and give him a heart compression, so he comes back to life. It's just so fucking badass. It's the most badass thing I've ever seen in a movie. Like, you couldn't even, like, you know, if you were making a corny movie, you couldn't even think of something that fucking cheesy.
Right.
But it's done with so much like dramatization.
That reminds me of a movie I remember renting way back when at the movie gallery, and it was kind of a
Pirates?
horror no, not the softcore Pirates movie. Like, there's this movie about, there's like this kid who's in an insane asylum for most of his life, and he like breaks out, and it kind of like sets it up as like this horror stalker movie like Halloween or Friday the 13th and stuff. But he's like a bumbling fool, and so he tries to kill these two teenagers, and he keeps like, he'll like swing the knife and like knock a pan to the ground, then he'll trip on the pan kind of thing. And so these teenagers are like, don't worry, buddy, we'll help you be the best serial killer ever. So they like help this guy learn how to be a serial killer to like kill people randomly in town. And I can't remember what the name of it was, but
Holy shit, no, I'm having all these memories. It's like a teenage couple, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was like very low budget. Like the blood was basically fruit punch.
Right?
Kinda.
Carrots or what's that fucking sweetener stuff? Whatever. The joke's over. Everyone go home.
Yeah. But
yeah, what a tangent, huh?
Right?
What was I just talking about before that fucking terrible movie?
You brought up Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, right, Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, maybe we just shouldn't. That was so bad. There's just nothing to it, and there's like absolutely no like heart in it.
Right.
I don't know. I could sit here for a while and bash on
I mean, what would be funny is if there was an interview with the scriptwriter at the time, and everyone's like talking about how shitty the story played out and stuff, and he's like, but that was actually one of my campaigns.
That was the campaign I met my wife, you son of a bitch.
I played Snail. It's like, oh.
That explains a lot. No wonder. And I bet you fucking died.
Well, I guess that's a good transition.
Right.
Let's move on to talking about games. How we're doing things is book club style gaming, where I'll bring a game to talk about and Travis will bring a game to talk about. Now, this week, I'm going to let Travis go first because I feel like I dominated that earlier section. What's your game this week, Trev?
So I guess if I'm gonna just have to buckle down and talk about something, I want to talk about Project Zomboid.
Okay.
Project Zomboid was a game that I got into a long time ago because I love like sandbox survival, kind of roguelike, random parts. It ties really into that, like randomizer we were talking about. But
this got a recent resurgence.
Yes, I thought that was so cool to see.
I saw so many people playing this game like for a month and then it stopped.
Oh, I didn't even really think about it, but yeah, I just don't see any more content showing up anymore. But that was so good for the community. If nothing else, it's just like this huge boon, right? So I'm really trying to like use some kind of segmenting this up, and so I'm not just randomly talking about it, because my natural instinct is to talk about mods, right? The mods in that game alone make anything you want to do possible. And not only the mods really, but it's the settings. So there's the classic mode, right? Well, classic mode's really, really fun because it's like your basic survival. If you get bitten, you're going to get infected. You get infected, you die no matter what. Like, it's, permadeath. You start a new character, you start a new spot, you do, pick different attributes.
So you can't keep going as like a survivor zombie.
You're dead.
It's like, I'm better than all you zombies. I could carry beef jerky.
I love that idea. So I love the idea if you're like a survivor, right? And you have all these supplies and you just so randomly got infected. You're like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to go down. And so you just like cover yourself in armor and tape two big fucking knives to your hand. Just put spikes all over everything. Just wander to the nearest civilization you can find. And just,
Come
start
at
going
me if
fucking
you dare, rednecks.
start destroying people with your duct taped zombie arm knives. So uh, a lot of the reason why the game's really fun is because there's so much content, right? Like you can do so many things. You could plant all these, like if you really want to. And I really like the idea of, you know, like building a base in a game, having like all these different resources, right? Like you collect water and you plant things, and you might have your storage, or you might have like your base where you sleep next to a bunch of places with storage, right? Or you're going to have a map and you're going to mark in all these destinations, and you're going to say, you know, all my food's here, all my ammo's here, all this and that. And then you'll take all the things you need, like to live daily, or, you know, to like make life easier, just whatever you want to do, because it's a game and it's for fun. So you could fill your fucking base up with cheese. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But uh, what I don't like about the vanilla mode of that game, and not even vanilla, but just the standard, right? Because even without mods, it's really fun using the right settings. But you have different percentage chances to get infected based on where you get attacked from. And so if you get grabbed from the back, there's like a 75% chance of something of infection. And so it's like you're pretty much dead, right? You're rolling the 75% chance every time someone gets you in the back. And because of that, it doesn't cooperate very well with like how games I like to play, because, you know, I like to play a little fast and loose. I like to listen to music. I really do enjoy being really careful in a lot of games, but I like to put that much concentration into like beating other people online, because you get so much more serotonin, right, out of beating a person than AI. But
That's serotonin for you, anxiety for me.
a little bit of this, you get a little anxiety too. You fight off those shakes.
But the shakes make me miss, and then I lose, and then I hate the game.
And then you just play a less precise game, and then the shakes are just like you juking. You just got random jukes in you because you got the shakes, got the jimmies. Anyways, like I want to talk about mods a little bit, but even the vanilla game, if you just go into the sandbox settings and just goof around with things there and kind of just warp the game around to your experience, that's one of like the key components to that game. Why I love it so much is because there's really cool content. I love like zombie survival. I love uh, how like the world's set up and the power starts shutting off, the water starts shutting off. There's all these really, really interesting like hardcore survival mechanics. But then you can go into the sandbox setting, and it's it sounds gimmicky, right? But you can change how infection works. You can change almost every setting because, you know, it's sandbox mode, but you can change so that infections aren't lethal. And if you change
Okay.
that, then I mean, unless you just get completely swarmed, or you put yourself in a really bad situation, or you use a gun ever in your life, because you just don't use guns in that game. It's like hitting a dinner bell in the right situations, because, you know, it's a really big complicated game with lots of different tiers. Like, you know, the beginning tier, you have nothing and you're stomping on zombies with your foot and finding crowbars and shit, and then eventually you'll just have a massive compound and like a Humvee and all these silenced weapons and all this shit.
Okay.
But if you use those sandbox settings the right way, you can really tailor make your experience. And I like to create like super fast, super strong, super hardcore zombies, because I gave myself that like ultimate benefit of not being, uh, not having infections being fatal. And so everything else is just like maxed out, like random chaos, random bullshit. And because of that, it was actually a whole lot of fun. And I spent like so many hours just by myself, which, I mean, I love to play games. A lot of it's multiplayer. I mean, you know that. But this was a game that I just had trouble putting down. Like I would like have to remind myself, like, oh shit, I haven't drank water for an hour. You know, it's like I haven't smoked a cigarette in, you know, 2 hours or whatever. And I'm like, I'm gonna give myself a break. I'll hit pause, and then while I'm smoking a cigarette, it's like, man, I bet I could loot this spot. Or I'm looking down the alley. I'm like, oh, my neighbor's house looks very defensible from here.
I've had that happen most recently with New World, and I was exactly like that. And it's like, if I didn't have to move when that game came out, it would have probably made me lose like 20, 30 pounds. I had to move, so I had to stop playing, and now it's like, I don't really want to get back on because there's a lot of shit that needs to be done on my character, and I don't want to do all that shit.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And it's not like the fucking, yeah. It's not been well received since then. Uh, You know, the what you're talking about reminds me of the funniest EverQuest term ever, and it's called poop socking. And it is pretty much exactly what you think it is.
Okay, the only time my legs saw workout was getting up to go to the bathroom. All right, I didn't do jugs, I didn't do socks,
No
I didn't
poop
try to
sock.
arc into the trash can. Okay.
Oh God.
So Project Zomboid, one streamer I watched, whenever they like find a home base and stuff, they like try very hard to not do anything to alert zombies to their area, and then when they're inside, they like block up all the windows and shit before they sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. No, there's so much minutia to all that shit, right? Like there's some people who do like a house only challenge, so they just stay in the house that they spawned in for as long as they can, which is crazy because you can't really get more food, so it's really dependent on like how much food you have. And then I don't know, you can do all sorts of weird stuff with building, like busting out ceilings and stuff and building stairs and all sorts of really interesting things. But that is like 101 whenever you're going to go to sleep is closing all your curtains, making sure your doors, because you can barricade shit as well, right?
Okay.
So like you want to, I don't know. So there's so many different strategies and stuff, and some people just like you could totally have so much fun playing this game if you just picked it up and said, "I'm gonna go slap a bunch of zombies and see what happens," and then started like building whenever you felt like it. And but if you really want like a hardcore start, there's so many different things people do. Like you have a whole attribute system. Well, you have positive and negative traits. The more positive traits you have, the more negative traits you have to take, and vice versa, whatever. Uh, so if you really want your character to be really strong, he's going to have to be really fat, or he's going to have to be, deaf or something. I mean, there's less intense parts, but really hardcore Project Zomboid players will take things like overweight. They'll also take strong and all these other things that are negative penalties, but they can be fixed through like exercise and reading books and shit. So they'll just spend the first like I don't know, fucking 5 hours of the game. Well, maybe not five, but they'll spend X amount of time just rebuilding their character back to like zero. And to me, that's like such an impossibly long amount of like prep time in a game where you could instantly die.
Is there like a story in it or anything? Like, or is it
Nope.
just so it's just
It's
survive for as long as possible and do crazy shit while surviving?
so because it's practically in the vanilla game or whatever in standard play, it's practically impossible to like. I mean, you'll eventually die. There's just no way.
Okay.
I mean, you'll stop playing the game or you'll eventually die. And
There's
the
no
tag,
beating it. There's just survive longer than I did previously.
yeah, they're just getting better or like having an objective and saying like, okay, this playthrough, I'm gonna go to this big ass mall that I saw my last playthrough, and I'm gonna try to live there and see how long I can live there. Or this time I'm gonna, try to go to all the edges of the map and see what's there. There's like a hidden military base somewhere, but it's a secret, so I don't want to spoil it for any potential Project Zomboid enjoyers. About that question you asked me. Oh, right. So a lot of the times too, that reminds me of how like self-imposed restrictions make for like a lot of streamers do shit like that. And so I'm sure just because streamers, not just because streamers do it, but I'm sure because streamers do it, other people do it as well. And you can say like, I'm going to do a melee only run and see how many zombies I can kill or see how long I can survive. The game always starts with the like loading screen or whatever. It not a loading screen necessarily, but it always starts right before the game. It describes it as this is how you died. So it's just like the story of how you died in the zombie apocalypse. Have fun.
I will say, for me personally, from watching Twitch and seeing pictures and shit, I'm not a fan of the RuneScape style graphics. I know like there's gameplay that surpasses graphics and stuff, and I'm sure I'd get like really into this game. It's just like when I'm looking for a game to play and everyone's telling me, hey, you should look up this game and stuff, is like first thing I see is those graphics. It's like, really?
I can't do it. See, I think that's never, that's always been something that never really bothered me. But yeah, overall, I will say like I would 100% recommend Project Zomboid if you like like any type of random roguelike, basic like action adventure type of thing. It is a little unforgiving if you're playing solo play or like standard, but that kind of depends on who you are, man. If you are crazy about gaming and you want to play this like a fucking MLG game, you're gonna live for 1,000 hours. You know, you're gonna have a character that once you figure out some of the game, you could stay alive as long as anyone else. I believe in you. But if you're just a casual gamer and you don't want to get into it too much, it's still worth a buy if nothing else to fuck around with it. The replayability, because you can just fire up a game, fuck around for 15 minutes, die, and say, "Oh no, I died," and then go eat a hamburger or whatever. But then the modability, and I really don't want to get too much into it because there's just so much. There's just a ridiculous, and you know, some of them are really good. Like they should be a part of the base game. They're so good. Like a bunch of weapon packs and different guns and stuff like that, silencers, just stuff that's like really integral to long-term survival. And then there's just some really goofy ones. Like my probably absolute favorite because it was so random and you ended up with just so much random shit is like a famous person zombie NPC pack. And so, I mean, there's got to be like 500 just random people, different like from celebrities to video game characters and movie characters and shit. And so all of a sudden you'll be like rolling around in your truck, your van or whatever, and you'll see like someone who looks exactly like Shaquille O'Neal in this big pile of zombies. And you're like, are you fucking kidding me? So you got to get out. You got to go kill Shaq. Well, then you see like a fucking dude dressed up like Big Bird or something. You're like, damn, I want that
it
fucking...
It turns into that scene from the Dawn of the Dead remake where they're playing
picking out zombies.
Game.
Yeah. Yeah. It turns into that entirely. And then you end up just collecting all these stupid clothes because it's like, man, I might not see this crazy helmet again or something.
I killed Shaq and I got a new tint out of his shirt.
Exactly. You're like, I might not find a shirt that looks just like Shaq's fucked up shirt. But no, so that mod is definitely like the most fun just because it gives you a lot to do and random reasons to do it, and it's really fun.
So, I mean, I've played open-ended games similar to this before. Not like, you know, zombie attack or anything, but like just open-ended games.
Name 5. You're not a fan. No. Name 5 of their songs then, Chuck.
Oh, God. He cut me. Podcast over. But like, it always seems like even as much as it randomizes or anything, it's like, the first couple of times you're playing through, obviously, you get little bits at a time because you're still learning the game. You're like, oh, okay, so I actually do need to cleanse my water or whatever the fuck, you know? But then once you kind of like get what all the mechanics are, you'll do like, or I'll do, not you. You don't. You'll keep playing. I'll do like one perfect run of like, you know, doing everything right, playing it, probably play like 5 hours or something of it. And then it's like, okay, well, I've figured out this game. Like, even no matter how much they randomize the loot every time you load it up, it's like, well, I've already technically beaten it because I've learned all the mechanics and applied them, you know?
I guess Borderlands is really open. That just, when you started talking about randomizing loot. No, I totally get that too. I think that's why most of the replayability for really anybody is, I guess,
like, for me it was like City Skylines, you know, pretty much the completion of that is either you fill up all the squares with a self-maintaining city, or and you kind of figure out how the economy works and learn what keeps the city running on its own, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, once I reached a certain level of city building, and it was like I was making 3 times as much as I was able to spend. Everybody was super happy. There's like nothing going wrong or anything. It just kind of like, it dropped off severely because there was like, I've figured it out. I figured out the mechanic. I'm done. Yeah. I love City Skylines, by the way, but yeah.
No, I get that. I think that's why, like mods for Project Zomboid is why I go back to it for that reason. And the same with like RimWorld. Like, I love RimWorld. What's that fucking amazing cultivation simulator? That's a good one. It's just as crazy as the title sounds too.
Yeah, RimWorld is another one of those that I see all the time on like Reddit, but I never actually like see people play it. It's like, is this real or is this like the developers post this shit online to stay relevant? You know?
Well, no, I think it's really one of those games. Like some games just have like stayability, right? Like some games like Rust, right? Rust is really popular because there's so many different aspects to it. There's like the farming, crafting aspect. There's the survival aspect. There's the PvP aspect. There's like the team building type of thing where you can roll around with a big group. There's just so many different things you can do. But in reality, you're doing it with other people, right? I think that's like the multiplayer part of it. Well, then you get a game like RimWorld that has like zero multiplayer. It has to be really like that stickability, the not even replayability, because while it is a lot of replaying, people doing different challenges and stuff like that, I just think that it's a really solid game that people put time in, because like well, my personal experience, you'll like finish a run or not even finish it because there's only so many ways to win. You'll lose, right? Like you'll have all this great stuff going on and you'll think you're in such a good position, and then just so many random things will happen and you'll end up losing that playthrough. Well, that like makes me want to jump right back into it because I'm still amped out. I still want to go. I'm like, well, I'm going to have to rebuild or get back to that, 4 hour, 5 hour, whatever, 1 hour mark. But I think that there's some games that pull you in no matter what, even if, because I mean, I have like beaten RimWorld and done different, like collecting the fucking rocket ship parts or whatever. You don't play the game, so
I know exactly what you are referencing.
Yes, the rocket parts. I remember those from the time I played Ringworm. It's RimWorld, Chuck. Yes.
Well, yes, it's popular offshoot of Ringworm, the RimWorld.
Terrible name. I mean,
all right. Anything more you want to talk about Project Zomboid?
Yeah, I think for a final rating, I will give it 4 zombies out of the ghost of Bob Hoskins. All in all, it's a buy. It's a good game. It's a good game to have in your library, especially if you're going to be offline. And throw it on a laptop, play it on a plane.
Is it on Switch?
Maybe. I don't own a Switch, so yes, it is. Go pick it up on Switch now.
So now we just got to send a copy of this podcast to the developers, and then they'll be like, everybody wants it on Switch.
Right. I can definitely see that happening in the future. We're going to be a big asset to Project Zomboid on the Switch.
Alrighty. Well, we'll move on to my game, and that will be our segue from now on because it's rough and shut up.
Love it.
My game, I decided to bring Horizon Forbidden West, which is the brand new Horizon game, came out,
which is like the opposite direction of Forbidden East. Yes.
Forbidden West and Accepted East. God. To start with, it's a gorgeous game. It's so amazing graphics. Definitely one of those worlds that I just love to run around in. Like the vistas are great. Like
what about the plateaus?
The plateaus, they're great. The grass is great. The dust is great. The rain is great. Like so the character models, like it just looks phenomenal.
Right. So I do remember a little something about that first game, how they would that technique they used, where I mean the game looked really good as the first game or whatever, but they would just render things that were in front of your character's field of view from like so far out. And I think that is like I'm not sure if they did it again, but I'm sure that would play a big part.
I mean, with the PS5 hardware and stuff, they're able to refresh that data a lot faster.
All right.
So
we're like way more numbers past my PlayStation.
It's one more number.
It's a PlayStation half.
On top of that, like very fast loading screens whenever you're doing like fast travel across the map. Like PS5 do like one loading circle and then it's ready to go. The story's okay. It's not great. It's not in the pantheon of you must finish the story. This story is amazing. No, it's fine. There's lots of problems in the story. I don't know. Maybe we'll do like a secondary podcast where we talk about games spoiling, because this is too recent of a game. I don't want to like give away too much.
Oh, right,
but
right.
Fuck that ending. Seriously, anybody who's finished this game, you know what I'm talking about, because fuck that ending.
Well, that's a mark of a great game. Just throw it away at the end.
Oh, they threw it away like way before that, but it's like, really, this is the direction we're going. Just drop everything, go over here. Okay, fine, whatever. At least like make it entertaining. And then it's like half entertaining, and then they threw away the rest, and it's like, why did I finish this? I was having so much fun just running around in the desert. Forbidden West starts up where one of the virus things that was created way back in the old world, the containment broke loose, and so now it's spreading across the land. So she has to travel like to California. Like the first game is all set up on the East Coast. This game is set on the West Coast. So she has to travel to California to this site so she can figure out what the virus is. And yeah, along the way, she meets new people, and turns out whenever you get to New Mexico, Nevada desert area, there's a divide among people. There's the tribes of people that she knows, and then there's a whole portion of the population that they call themselves the Tenakth, and they're separate into like 5 to 8 tribes.
Wait, is it TENAC?
No, it's TENAKTH.
Okay. So I was going to say Tanakh is the half of the tattoo on fucking Jack Black for Tenacious D.
So the West people are called Tanakh, and the East people
other
are
ones
called
are
HSD.
They form their butts together.
Oh man, I just spoiled the third game. We must find the pick of destiny to battle the AI.
Forbidden Horizons, the pick of destiny. That was a good fucking leg.
But yeah, so you're like having to teach all these the new tribe that you're the godsend person who could talk to the AIs or whatever the fuck. You're going to each of the sites to find the AI that's been corrupted and kind of like bring them back into a central location so that they're all part of the same main brain, you know?
Same brain.
And there's a funny part very early on where it's like you have the AI of Gaia, and you go to one of the science facilities and you plug it in, and she's like, I can't do anything unless I have, 4 more of the 8 AI I used to have. It's like, okay, so they could be anywhere in the world. And it's like, oh, but all of them are within this general region.
Wow.
It's like, huh.
How convenient.
Right? It's like, really? Not one of them decided to go back to the East Coast or anything?
Where all this shit was originally.
Like, you could go anywhere. Might as well go to San Francisco.
I mean...
So yeah, the beginning of the game, you're tasked with collecting all this AI and stopping the virus. And then halfway through, you find a group of people who are way more highly advanced technology that your puny caveman weapons cannot penetrate their shields. And so you have to find a way to stop them. And then there's like a greater threat that they are afraid of. And then that sets up the third game. It's like, fuck all of this at the end. So yeah, that's like that's the basic plot of the story. And there's various details and shit, like the relationship of the companions and the different way each of the tribes are governed. that's interesting. Each tribe they sat down and really thought about like how to make each tribe unique, you know, and how to also build that tribe into whatever old world tech they're around.
What's a good example? Because that sounds really badass.
Okay, there's this one tribe who's like one of the strongest tribes, and it's like the Skyflyers tribe or some.
I mean, you could just make up any name. It's not like I'm going to call you out on it. The Beef Jerky Boys. Yeah, no, sounds tight as fuck.
It's the Tweety Birds. So when they
Don't you
first
ever disrespect the Beef Jerky Boys like that?
When they first created their tribe, they created it on an Air Force site. So there's like a bunch of these holograms and stuff that are like, you know, like join the Air Force videos. Shit like that. It's so
so real fast as a just for my own benefit, did other tribes pick less cool or defensible places than a goddamn airfield or whatever? Because that sounds like a pretty fucking good place to start up a civilization instead of like a grocery store.
This isn't fucking Battlefield Earth, okay? After 500 years, those fighter jets are dead. Okay,
I guess it's been 500 years, right? You know? 500 years, I get it.
They don't just have a layer of dust on them and they can still fly. Okay, they're gone. But
I thought it was a video game.
So I mean they've structured their entire thing. So it's like the chieftain of the tribe has his like lieutenants, and he has like 8 lieutenants, and it's all because he saw this hologram when he was first made chieftain, where it's like one of those like
Dragon Slayer videos.
Join the Air
the
Force
Dragon Slayer.
Well, it's like join the Air Force and become an air marshal, and it has like a line of people like all giving the salute and stuff. And he's like, so I have my own air marshals, and it's interesting, you know?
Oh, it sounds great.
And so there's each one's like that, and it's interesting. But when you get to the final thing, it doesn't really matter what happens. You know, like the whole climax final fight is
spoilers.
Yeah, I'll cut it out then. Yeah, I mean, it's just like you spent fucking 30 hours fixing all these tribes' problems and getting them all united, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna storm the final citadel, and it's like, but
by myself.
I don't want any of you people to join because I spent so much time getting you to work together. I don't want you guys to die, so you guys go play together over in that corner, and I'll storm the citadel alone.
That's video game logic, dude. It's great. Right? Setting up the third game, baby.
That said, the combat in this fucking game, and I had the same problem with the first game, and
so it's good, right? Positive.
Oh my god! So the combat is unique, and it's fun to an extent. It's interesting to an extent. The whole idea of giant robotic boar is coming at you. You can shoot off like its tusks, and then you get the tusks as a material to use for crafting. Or you could shoot off like the energy tank on its back, and you can pick that up and use it for crafting. You know, you pinpoint these specific spots on these robots as like quote unquote weak points. And not only does it do a lot of damage to the beast, it can potentially like take away a weapon. So like if it's, you know, a boar that spits fire at you, if you hit the fuel tank, it can't spit fire at you anymore. It can only charge.
Right. I mean, that sounds like good.
Yeah.
I mean, like at least like mechanically sound.
One serious problem I have with it is how much of this shit breaks if the beast dies without you taking off that part. How do the tusks break just because I didn't knock the tusk off before I killed the beast? Fuck you, game.
You think if you shot it anywhere else but the tusk would have a better chance of survival, but you have to shoot the tusk to make them
I mean, there's certain aspects that are within the okay parameters. Like take that fire thing. If you shoot the fuel tank, it's going to blow up. So you can't loot the fuel tank. So you have to figure out a way of killing the boar without breaking the fuel tank in order to get the fuel tank. But like stuff like the tusk, just give me the fucking tusk. Like,
yeah,
I killed
where's
the
tusk
beast.
going?
I didn't like use explosive rounds or anything. There's no thing that damaged the tusk.
I slew the beast.
But because like I didn't knock the tusk off, you're just going to break it because I didn't do it right. Fuck you.
So you like that system?
All of these beasts are like super massive, and I feel like they move way too fast. And it's hard to say because it's like you take Elden Ring, there's massive bosses in that, and they move super fast and stuff. But Elden Ring also has, you know, the whole hitbox porn style to it where it could be massive and stuff, but there's this tiny little window that you could roll through.
Yeah.
Horizon doesn't have that. You get knocked down, you're stunned for like 3 seconds because this big ass beast knocked you on your ass. You're not going to like just jump back up no matter like what video game you're in. It's like, but they're so fast. So it's like by the time you're back on your feet, they've already circled around. They're going for another charge. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. And it just gets worse the more it goes on, because the more it goes on, the better equipment you have, which means the game starts throwing like bigger monsters at you. One of the ones that are primary in this game is a giant cobra. And
fuck yeah.
It's such a nightmare to fight these fucking things. Like they spit poisonous acid at you.
Nice.
It has like a rattler tail that shoots lightning.
Of course, lightning snakes. Right. Classic, standard.
It has this grinder bit where it can like chew up dirt and spit rocks at you.
Yeah. Drill
under the ground and like launch you up in the air, and it could just like lunge at you and then twist its body around so that even if you like dodge the initial bite, its body will still like whip you around. It's
damn, that snake's sexy as hell, dude. Right? Why don't they just make a game where you get to play that snake? That sounds so much fun.
Now, mind you, like all of the fucking top gears, like, oh, you need the fang of one of those cobras. So it's like you have to wait for this fucking thing to lunge at you so that you could do like the slow down time to like take shots at its tooth. You have to be super precise with your shots while it's lunging at you to
just
knock this tooth out. And it gets so frustrating when it's like you've hit that tooth like 2 or 3 times, it still hasn't lodged out, but you feel like the next shot's going to do it, and then you miss the shot, hit it in the eye, and that kills it, and then you lose the fang.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that being really frustrating.
It's like, God damn it. You know? Yeah, it just gets to this point where it's just like super, super annoying combat that is either you're super stunned or you're trying to get a very particular item, and the game just does not want to let you have that item at all. I gave up upgrading my high level bow because one of the things they required was
snake tooth.
No, it's like stomach weave from a fire bear. It's basically like it's
wow,
like a polar bear or a grizzly, but they have a fire variant and an ice variant. And it's like my bow specifically requires the fire variant. Now the thing is, 3/4 of its body is like that fuel tank setup, but you can only get this fire weave if you kill it without rupturing the tank, which means every single weak point on this bear you cannot hit for fear of rupturing that tank. So instead of doing like 300 damage to start killing it faster because it has like 1,000 health, you have to do like 9 damage to it and just slowly whittle it down so that you could get this fire weave. And I almost had it, and it charged me, and I released the arrow, and it hit the tank on the shoulder and blew the tank and killed the bear.
And so you just said, fuck it, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, basically, it's like, I'll just fucking finish the story because I'm not going to spend another fucking hour on this shit. And I'm sure there's someone who's played this. It's like, oh, you need to lay down like electric traps, or you need to attack it with this and shit. And it's like, no, I do not need to do that.
No, I know what you mean, though. I think that's like a big disclaimer that could be said about like anything we're talking about is these are just our own like personal opinions with games, how we play games.
Yeah.
Because there's some stuff I like go super try hard for, and then some things I'm like, I really have to tell myself, like, you know, I was playing a little Terraria. I was like, man, I don't need to sit here and like find the perfect spot for a base and find the perfect materials. I just should jump in and start playing and goofing off.
Yeah.
And trying to like, you know, have a little bit of fun.
Now, mind you, every weapon has different tiers of leveling up. So it's like a basic bow has 3 levels to it. the legendary bow I have, it has like 6 levels to it. This
Wow.
was me
So
having a problem getting the level 2 of that.
Wow, no wonder you're doing 9 damage there, Chuck.
but I'm looking at the ingredients for like levels 3 through 6. They're all like normal fucking ingredients that I have hundreds of in my bag because I've been playing this game for so long. But this one little fucking fire weave is such a pain in the ass to get. It's like, no, fuck it. I'll beat this game with the level 1 legendary bow. Fuck this fucking shit.
That's great. Like now I'm just so curious. I want to figure out how to do that now. I'm like, no, there's got to be a way. Like, where's more fireweave?
Okay.
Lay down an electricity trap.
I guess I should give a little bit more detail as to the mentality of where I was at that point too, because that was just the end of an entire night of frustration for me. Okay, the game, it's an open world game. So obviously there's the main quest, there's hundreds of side quests, there's a bunch of like optional stuff. There's like a chess game that's stupid and sucks and I hate it. There's like hunting missions, there's like melee combat training type things. When you get so far into the game, there's also this combat arena. You do all this stuff to unlock this combat arena, and it has like 5 different levels, and it does the like beginner, intermediate, hard, very hard kind of thing.
Right.
So you go over there to play it. Now you go into the beginner. Okay, there's like 5 different challenges, and it's like challenge 1 is kill the boar within a minute using your current equipment. It's like, okay, number 2 is like kill 3 of the ostrich characters within a minute using your current equipment. It's like, okay, that shit's all normal, and I have some pretty good equipment, so it's no problem. The final challenge, killed this giant fucking animal within a small ass arena using equipment we selected for you.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Within a minute.
Yeah. I think games like that have crazy like level up, and not even crazy, but upgrade systems and stuff, and then they take that away from you. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Or like RPGs specifically where you get like stuck playing another character that's not yours. I'm like, yeah, that part might be fun, and if it's a really fun game, then it's probably a really fun part. But like that artificial difficulty,
and you're almost kind of funneled into finishing this arena setup because that is one of the only ways to get those legendary items, legendary weapons and armor. There's some you could get through finishing certain side missions and stuff. They take so long, and you're going to have to like look up a list of what each side mission gives you because, like I said, there's hundreds of fucking side missions. But like, so as far as like what you can see that is attainable, you could go to the arena vendor and see legendary bow, legendary armor, and it's like, I want those things. So I had to do the arena. Now, that all setup is annoying in itself. Every challenge costs currency, and you don't get anything out of it except those arena points. So any item that falls off the machines, you do not get to keep.
Oof. That's rough, especially because a lot of it's hitting weak points to kill them really fast.
Yeah.
You're like, hell yeah, at least I get a fucking saber-toothed tiger dick or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you love the game, everything about it.
So yeah, each challenge costs money.
How easy is getting money in this game?
It's very dependent.
How difficult?
Because money is basically scrap.
Ah, so you use it on other things.
Yeah, it's whenever you kill a beast, it's like, okay, you got 18 metal scrap, and so that's kind of the general trading. You also use it when upgrading. Like an upgrade will cost like 200 scrap plus these other parts. Scrap isn't hard, but at the same time, it's like to do the normal challenges is about 100 scrap each. Normal challenges are fine because you go in with your current equipment. So it's like, yeah, I could bust this shit out. It's those boss challenges, and those boss challenges are 250 scrap each. Now, to get 250 scrap it's very dependent on
like what you're fighting and stuff. What you're
say you kill a boar and you knocked everything off of it, so you collect it all and you sell it to a vendor, you might get maybe 100 scrap max. So say 2 board if you spend the time to knock everything off of it to sell. Of course, by this point in time, I had like a massive inventory full of stuff. I could just dump a ton of shit. But at the same time, it's like this game, it has one save file and then it like auto saves, or you do, you know, quick saves on top of that save file. So there's no like cheesing it. You can't just like, well, I fucked this up, I'm going to load the last save, you know?
Oh, yeah. Reloading, so saves coming.
It doesn't do that. It doesn't let you do that. So this is probably the first point in this game. And this is like 25 hours in. I was like, I'm going to look up how people are doing this, because this is bullshit. I can't even get past the beginner fucking challenge boss, and I'm playing it on normal difficulty. I looked it up. Everybody in this general topic thread was like, this challenge system is complete bullshit. I recommend dropping it down to story level difficulty, where enemies are not a challenge at all to finish it. Just burn them all out, use the money, and don't look back.
Damn.
It's like, that says something when you fucked up that hard.
Right? When the just general consensus that it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I hope you don't like legendary equipment in games, man.
So, but yeah, I mean, and it's just like, you know, it's just a mix of everything. The fact that I have to pay to get my ass kicked, the fact that the boss could just stun lock you for the full minute, the fact that because I'm not using my current gear, I'm using this weaker shit, means getting that like time limit down is super stressful. It's like, just fucking take out the time limit and like just make it a straight up fight. Why is there a fucking time limit when you're not even giving me my equipment to make the time not a factor?
Right. Well, normally in games like that and stuff, you want that like that sense of satisfaction of trying that boss battle, failing at it because it's really hard, and saying, well, I guess I'm going to go upgrade my equipment. And then you upgrade your equipment and you're like, fuck you, boss, I win. That's like Dark Souls 101, basically.
Yeah.
And I know it's not Dark Souls, and like you can't compare everything to Dark Souls, but that's that same feeling. That's if you've been reviewing games in the past 10 years, you can.
This Coke is the Dark Souls of soda.
Hey man, Starlight Cola, did you try it?
No.
That's the Dark Souls of cola, man. It's actually kind of weird. It's like a cream soda Coke. It's really hard to explain. He's a Pepsi man, by the way. Fuck Coke. That's why he has no comment.
So I guess the main point of this going forward is the reason I pick certain games is because I want to rant about a particular point, and that's what I wanted to rant about. Is fuck that whole challenge system. I played the rest of the game in that story mode because killing those bigger bosses was just so much easier like that. That I was like, why the fuck do I want to be stun locked for 3 fucking minutes when I could just kill this thing and move on?
Yep.
Now, all of that said, I do respect the game that they put out. So at the end of this year, if all of the nominee sections for Game of the Year is like Horizon Forbidden West for this, Horizon, you know, like for graphics, for audio, for gameplay, for story, whatever. It's like, okay, I trust that. I believe you that, you know, somebody found this to be the best game of the year. I will not argue at that point.
But you will argue about that fucking boss battle, the goddamn challenge mode.
I will say, for me personally, even in the games that have launched in the last 3 months, no. I do not want to return to this game. I beat it. It's done. It's off my hard drive.
I mean, you tried it, you played it, you have a opinion about it. Shit.
So
what more do you want out of a game besides, I mean, generally just being good?
Being that I feel like my take is more the outlier of what the game is. If anyone asks me about that, I will still recommend them. You know, it's like, if you love the first game, definitely try this out. If you're interested in a game to play on your new PS5, you should try this out because it's an amazing looking game. It does have a massive open world. It has a lot of content into it. Maybe the combat will fit in their style of gameplay more than it fits mine.
Well, yeah, honestly, as you've been talking about it, even with the negative stuff, I'm like, kind of interested. I'm like, oh fuck, I'll play that game because fuck it, I like a unique style of combat. I've always loved difficult games. The plot, I guess we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. So I guess a rating, fucking 6 firebores out of a cobra.
Nice. Out of a cobra tusk. 6 boar tusks for 1 cobra. Love it.
All right. Well, that'll do it for episode 1. Try to get this edited, and it will most likely be on any streaming platform that you listen to, unless something changes, and then it won't be on that platform.
Until it gets completely shut down. Thanks, Chuck. No, this was a lot of fun, man. Have a good night, man.
Good night.
See you next time, buddy.